Hey, thanks for spending some time in another little short devotional thought. And as like the past ones, that we've been, the past few of these devotionals, we've been taking a look at the Sermon on the Mount. And there's just some selected verses through there, and there's some things I think are really, really helpful, especially as we're at kind of where we are right now, and as tensions seem to be running a little bit high. I don't know if that's the case where each of us is, but it seems like that we're seeing it quite a bit, especially if we're paying any attention to the news cycles, those kinds of things, of the tension of, are we going to let this virus shut everything down? Are we going to open everything back up and everybody's going to die? All of these things, right? And it even can kind of bleed in to what we do day to day. We see people at the store and we go, well, look at those people, those crazy people wearing masks all the time. There must be something wrong with them. Or there may be people who are wearing masks looking at people who don't and going, hey, listen, look at these people. They just don't even care about people. And I think we kind of miss something. We mishandle, and we kind of mistreat one another whenever it comes to this idea of we begin to assign people a category, right? These people are the people who don't care. These are the people who care more. These are the people who are incompetent. These are the people who are idiots. I mean, we could just kind of go right on through it, and we can get caught up in that if we're not careful. It kind of brought to mind this passage from Matthew chapter 7 that really leads chapter 7, and it may be one of the most used and maybe even one of the most misused parts of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, judge not, or you too will be judged. For in the same way that you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Now, usually that's where we stop, right? Many of us stop right there, right? And that's kind of where the argument begins. And we have a couple of camps, and there's more than that, but you think of the extreme camps on this, of people are going, listen, don't you judge me. Don't you judge me, that's not right. Jesus said so. Jesus said, don't you judge. And then there's other people going, well, it says don't judge, but we have to judge. We have to make some judgments. We have to make some moral evaluations. I mean, we can't just go through life without. The problem is, as I heard Don McLaughlin say one time a long time ago, that we stop listening at verse 2 and Jesus is still talking. There's a lot to be said about how it is we view one another, how we make judgments about one another, and I think this is a good time for us to stop and think about how that happens. Jesus says it in verse 2, with the measure that you use, that's the way you'll be judged. Now, I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking, now how is it that I would like to be judged? Well, that's going to depend on my circumstances, right? If I am, if I believe that I'm in the right and somebody else has wronged me, I want justice, right? I want them brought to justice. I want this fixed. Now, if it's the other way around and I'm in the wrong, I want mercy. So Jesus is saying, let's be careful about how it is that we judge. And maybe why it is that he says, don't judge. Because following that statement of going, do not judge, he gives us a good reason as to why we're not really supposed to judge. He says, how is it that you can take a look at a speck that's in your brother's eye and miss the beam that's coming out of your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me remove that speck from your eye, when all the time there's a beam in your own eye? You hypocrite, he says. You've got to take the beam out of your own eye, then you can see clearly to do that. And I think one of the things that he's driving at here is we don't necessarily have the vision or all the information. And we're pretty good at, whether that's the right term or not, we're pretty good at making judgments. But sometimes we forget the part about how do we want to be judged. Verses 1 and 2 of chapter 7 set this in motion, but verses 1 and 2 and verse 12 serve as the bookends for this. How is it that we want to be judged? Right? Verse 12 is a golden rule. So in all things, do to others as you would have them do to you. On this, right? This is the law and the prophets. This is the essence, and that we treat one another well. We treat one another with respect, and we're going to disagree on what steps need to be taken going forward in this specific instance in our current context. There's people right now who are going, listen, we just need to open this thing up and get going. And there's others going, no, we need to lock this thing down more. And we begin to name call and to try to attribute something about their motive to what the decision that they make. I guess my encouragement in this little short time that we've got together is just to kind of really think about what Jesus has to say here. How do I want to be judged? I want to be judged with mercy, right? I want to be judged rightly, but I want that judgment to be tempered with mercy. And I think that as we continue to move forward and as we continue to engage with one another and as things continue to unfold in our country, maybe even within our churches, within our families, that we keep these kinds of things in mind. If Jesus is going, listen, you need to be careful about the way you judge other people, because that's the measure that gets used for you. Listen, I don't think I'm alone in this. I want mercy when it comes to judgment, especially when I am in the wrong, and which usually that's where I find myself at the end of the day, where I've messed it up. But I want that judgment to be tempered with mercy. Don't we all? We need to continue to be patient. We need to continue to be gracious in our judgments. We need to continue to listen to Jesus. We're not called to be judges, we're called to be messengers. We carry the good news of Jesus. We carry the good news of the God who loved us and saved us. And that's the message that we carry out. I hope to see everybody soon. Again, I know that we're sitting here, wondering, when's it going to happen? The elders have met this week. They talked about kind of a target date of the 1st of June, maybe the first Sunday in June, maybe the second Sunday, kind of dependent on and watching the numbers and trying to make sure that we can continue to worship well and we continue to look out for those vulnerable among us. I know I'm ready. I know I'm ready for us to get back together. And I can't wait to see all of you soon. God bless. I love you.